Psalm 11 begins with David answering the fear and panic of those around him. While others tell him to flee like a bird to the mountains because the wicked are attacking, David refuses to abandon his confidence in the Lord. The psalm contrasts the instability of earthly systems with the unshakable reign of God. In the Lord put I my trust establishes the central theme. David's confidence is not in political power, military strength, religious performance, or human righteousness. His refuge is entirely in the Lord himself. Even when society appears to collapse, the believer rests in the finished faithfulness of God rather than personal ability. The statement, "If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do?" reflects a time when justice and truth seemed to be crumbling. The foundations of society, law, order, and covenant faithfulness appeared broken. Yet the answer is not despair. David immediately turns attention away from earthly collapse and toward heaven's throne. God has not lost control even when nations shake. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. Earthly kingdoms rise and fall, but God remains enthroned. His rule is not threatened by rebellion among men. The psalm reminds believers that heaven governs history. What appears chaotic from earth is still under divine authority. The passage says, God's eyes behold and test humanity. This testing is not presented as uncertainty on God's part, but as the revealing of what truly exists within mankind. The righteous are those who trust in him, while the wicked persist in violence and unbelief. The contrast throughout the psalm is not between morally flawless people and immoral people, but between those resting in God and those opposing his ways. Verse 5 declares that the Lord hates violence and wickedness. God's judgment against evil is not arbitrary. His holiness stands against oppression, corruption, and rebellion. The imagery of fire, brimstone, and scorching wind in verse 6 recalls covenant judgment language found throughout the prophets. Such imagery often described national judgment upon covenant-breaking Israel and hostile nations. The language emphasizes the certainty and severity of divine justice. The psalm ultimately points beyond temporary earthly troubles to the righteous reign of God. Though evil may seem dominant for a season, judgment belongs to the Lord. The wicked do not escape his sight, and the righteous are never abandoned. The closing verse provides the hope of the psalm. For the righteous Lord loveth righteousness, his countenance doth behold the upright. God delights in what reflects his own character. Those who trust him are accepted in his presence and behold his face. The psalm ends not with fear, but with assurance that the Lord remains faithful to his people. Psalm 11 encourages believers to live with confidence rather than panic. When the world appears unstable and corrupt, faith looks upward instead of surrendering to fear. The throne of God remains secure, his justice remains certain, and his people remain under his care.